Welcome to Aligned and Abundant, the podcast where authenticity meets practicality, compassion, alignment, and abundance. I'm your host, Christine Marcario, and I help you slow down, become more mindful, improve your mental and emotional health, and live life on your highest timeline. Together, we'll talk strategy, life lessons, and share inspiring stories of people who have overcome obstacles, grown through their pain, and risen above adversity. If you are looking for divine inspiration rooted in love and light, paired with practical tools and encouragement, you're in the right place at the right time. From one heart to another, you are an amazing and divine soul with a purpose. Take my hand and let's walk this path together. On today's episode, I have a very special guest. Her name is Jessie Hansen. Jessie is a certified spiritual life coach, intuitive healer, and multi-passionate artist devoted to helping women reconnect with their truth and awaken to their soul's purpose. She blends intuitive guidance, transformational coaching, and energy healing to support deep alignment and empowered self-expression. Jessie is the host of the Journey to Your Dreams podcast and an author who shares her own healing journey to bring hope and inspiration to others while walking a similar path. Outside of her work, she's a proud mom of 4, with 2 boys of her own in a blended family, and she is married to the love of her life. Everything she does is rooted in love, purpose, and the belief that we were all made for so much more. First of all, welcome, Jessie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I resonate so deeply with your bio, and I just love everything that you're about. You are truly a person who reflects soul and radiance, and I'm just so thankful to have you orbiting in my world right now.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, just hearing that, it just makes me realize like how far I've come.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for in general is authentic stories of growth in order to find your truest alignment and get in touch with the highest version of ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your background and your history from the ups and the downs to where you currently are at. I know that's a big ask, but we have to start somewhere.
Yes, yeah, I'm happy to tell you my story. So, I would start probably back as a child. As a child, was very shy. I was so shy. In kindergarten, is my earliest memory of sitting on the side of the playground by myself because I was too afraid to ask somebody to play with me.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I was just afraid of everything. And then the older I got, I grew up in a household that was very dysfunctional. So my father was an alcoholic. My mother was basically a single mom, working full time to make ends meet. And growing up in that household, I knew that it was dysfunctional. I knew something was wrong. And going to school every day, I didn't want anybody else to know. I didn't want anyone else to know that something was wrong at my house. I felt very confused, as a young kid. Like, I wake up in the morning and my dad is sober, and then I come home and he's drunk. And I just never understood, like, why he couldn't stay sober. The sober times were the best. I loved that time with my dad. But coming home every day was just so much anxiety and just not knowing what I was going to walk into. It was just exhausting. I learned at a young age that I had to be like hyper aware of my surroundings all the time, like everybody's moods, what was going on around me. And I kind of had to just fit in, like just blend in everywhere I went. So I wouldn't stand out, so nobody would see me because I didn't want them to see me. I didn't want them to see what was happening at my house. And I was so afraid. And so shortly after, I would say probably around sixth grade, my parents got a divorce and my dad ended up moving out. And I just remember being so relieved. Like I was so relieved that I didn't have to come home to that every day. Like I could have friends over. I could have like kind of a normal life, you know? And it was just such a relief, but also I was sad because I didn't get to see my dad very often. And then shortly after that, my mom told me that my dad wasn't actually my biological father. So and that was like right going into my teenage years. So that was really hard because then I felt like, okay, what is there more things that they're not telling me? Like, why would they lie to me about something so big, you know?
Right.
And like throughout my childhood, like I look different than my family. Like I have dark hair, I've always had like darker skin, brown eyes. My dad, blonde hair, blue eyes, my sister, blonde hair, blue eyes, my mom, brown hair, green eyes. I'm like, why do I look different than everybody? You know, but I never thought about it. I think I asked my dad once and he said, oh, we have some Native American in us. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Believed it. You believed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I honestly just believed them. And then when I found out, I was like so blown away. Like I felt very alone. Felt very alone and like I just didn't belong. Like I was different and it just I just felt really sad. And I was going into my teenage years, so it was already a hard time.
Right.
Um, And then my mom had said, you know, do you want to meet your biological dad? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, of course I do. So I met up with him and because she had kept in contact with him. So I met up with him and the whole family, and it's a big family. As soon as I met them, like I look exactly like my dad. I look like so many of them. I just felt this like overwhelming sense of like I finally belong
Like
somewhere.
belonging.
Like,
Wow.
yeah. And it was incredible. I'd never felt that in my life. And it was like a deep feeling, like deeper than just what I look like. It was just like, I finally feel like I belong here. And that was hard because that was going through, you know, learning about me having a different dad. But then after that, like I felt like I dealt with that for years because then it was like, well, but why didn't he want to be in my life? And, you know, I was already struggling from a young age with feelings of like, you know, low self-worth, low confidence. And that just kind of added to it. It was just like, did he even want me, you know? And like why? And is it just me? And that just compounded over the years.
Right. Did you ever get the opportunity to ask him, or you didn't broach that topic?
No, I was too afraid.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So after that, in my teenage years, I started drinking and I loved alcohol. It was the cure for my anxiety and it just made me feel like confident in myself. And so I started drinking like throughout my whole teenage years and into my 20s. And then I had kids of my own. When I had my kids, I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to drink. I don't want them to have the, you know, childhood that I had." But I did. I did drink. And then I just felt kind of like in the back of my mind that like that was just my path. Like it was just like in my family. So that's just what I was gonna do. I didn't really see any other possibilities for myself. It was just like, oh, well, this is just who I am because of how I was raised. And I also was pretty much a workaholic. For me, like growing up, like achievement was how I earned love and like how I got attention. And like, so I just wanted to work all the time. I wanted to work all the time and achieve as much as I could. And at the same time, I was like just self-destructing with alcohol and, you know, making poor decisions that didn't align with my values at all. And I was in a marriage, my first marriage that was very tumultuous. It was very up and down, high and low all the time, lots of arguing. We were both very young when we got married and had children, but we just kind of grew up together and it was just so much dysfunction. So it was just a really hard time in my life. And then 7 years ago, my dad, who I grew up with,
Mm.
thought was my dad, he passed away. And he passed away on Mother's Day. And I got the call when I was passed out. So my husband at the time had to wake me up and tell me he's been in a life-threatening car accident. He's not going to make it.
Oh my God.
And he was in Idaho, I was in Oregon. I was just like, okay, well, I got to go there. We got to get there. And so me and my brother and aunt like jumped in the car, started rushing up there. It's an 8-hour drive, but we were so like just shell shocked, like what else do you do?
Right.
So we just started driving, started
Mhm.
going. And then not even halfway through the drive, I don't think, my aunt, who was with my dad in the hospital, called and said that he was going to go. Like it was time. And I just remember being like, I'm not ready. Like, why? What? We're not there yet, you know? And I was just so like shocked and so like, she asked me, like, do you want to say goodbye? And I was like, well, yeah, but like, what am I supposed to say? You know? Like, I didn't know what to say. And then so I just cried. I just cried and I was just like, goodbye, I love you, goodbye, I love you, goodbye, I love you. And I just cried and cried and cried. And then shortly after that, he passed. And we kept going. We got up there. And then I just remember being so like in a fog. Like I was so lost. And like my dad, he was a big part of my life because he wasn't always there, but he was always kind of like cheering me on. He was always just like, and especially the older I got, the less he quit drinking less. And he ended up being a really good grandpa and a lot more involved. But he was always like, you can do it. You got this. And always asking me like, are you happy? Does it make you happy? You know? And I was like, well, yeah, but even if I wasn't happy, you know, he was just like a really big cheerleader for me. And losing him was really hard. I was just like, I didn't get to say goodbye. It was so sudden. And then it was like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to move forward. And so I just drank because that's the only thing that I knew how to do.
Right.
And so I started drinking more. I started drinking every day. And then my body started hurting. It was just like, oh, my stomach hurts. Like I just don't feel good. Like I never felt good. And it made my anxiety so much worse. I
Mm.
remember laying in bed one night and telling my husband at the time, like, I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. I feel like I'm going to have a heart attack. I feel like I'm going to die. And I just can't calm down. Like, I can't do anything to calm down. I can't figure it out. And he just, like, I don't know if he said anything, but like, he didn't give me a hug or anything. And I just remember, like, feeling like I was gonna die and I was so alone in that. And I was
Right.
so alone in my grief and like I just did not know what to do. I did not know how to cope with anything, let alone something so big. So I ended up going to the doctor and the doctor said, "Why don't I send you to the psychiatrist and they can help you talk through some stuff." So I went to the psychiatrist and it was like 30-minute appointment, so hardly any time and it was really expensive. And she was like, well, have you tried yoga or meditation? And I was like, oh my
It's not going to solve a
God.
drinking problem, right?
Yeah, I was so mad. I was so mad. I remember being so mad and just being like, okay, I did not just spend like $260 for you to tell me to do yoga and med. Like I could just Google that.
Right. Right. You want some real authentic.
Yeah.
Practical advice.
Yeah. And then I was just crying, and she was just like, well, you're not alone in this. Everybody is going through this. Everybody goes through this. There's a lot of people going through it right now.
Mhm.
And then that just really made me mad. It made me so mad because at that point, I was like, if everybody's going through this, and there's a lot of people going through this right now, why is nobody talking about it?
Mhm.
Like, if people were talking about it, I would be like, hey, me too. Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you get through this? And it just made me so mad that like I'm walking around breaking down everywhere, crying everywhere. And like people also are walking around with like broken hearts full of grief, and they're just not saying anything. And so I was just like so mad. I was angry. I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know what else to do. So I went home and I downloaded a meditation app, and then I did my first guided meditation. And I was like, okay, whatever. I'm just probably going to sit there and just not going to help and whatever. I
Yeah.
didn't have anything left to lose. I went and I did it, and I sat down and I had like a profound experience. I immediately like envisioned my younger self. I was probably like 5 or 6 years old on a beach. And I was like so carefree, so relaxed, so happy, and just like playing. And after that was like, oh my God, I didn't know that this was like what meditation was. Like, I didn't realize I could connect with myself in that way. And so then that like really was the catalyst for the beginning of my healing journey. And I probably about like a month after that, we spread my dad's ashes, and I decided that day that I wasn't going to drink ever again. And I haven't drank
Oh my
since.
God.
And it's
So
been
brave
seven
of
years.
you. Congratulations. I know that every day for some can be a struggle. So the fact that you've been able to continue your sobriety, so proud of you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's one of those things where it gets so unbearable that it's like, there's no way I was
There's
going to
no
continue
back.
doing it.
Right.
Yeah. Like it just made everything so much more worse.
Hmm. Hmm.
And and then I was just like, okay, well, I got to try something. I got to learn new ways. I got to
Right.
learn coping skills. I have to learn how to deal with things in a healthy way because I didn't learn that when I was growing up.
Right. It wasn't modeled for you in your home.
Yes. So that was the beginning of my like learning journey and just like, okay, well, what do you do to cope with hard feelings? And I was honestly just Googling everything. What do people do to cope? Like, give me ideas. And
Yeah.
then I just do all the ideas. And I felt like the first, 90 days, I would say, were the hardest of not drinking because I really realized how much alcohol had weaved itself into my life. And everything had been an excuse to drink. Every event or non-event, just going out to eat was an excuse to drink, like everything. And so learning how to fill my time and how to do things that didn't involve alcohol at first was depressing because I was like, how do people even have fun?
Right. Right.
And then after that, it was like, well, I don't even know what I like to do. Like, I'm so out of touch with who I am and what I like. Like,
Right. You had numbed yourself
nothing.
out to a point where you didn't even know how to function in a daily way.
Yes. Yeah, totally. I actually was really mad at my husband at the time, and I was like, you just do whatever you want. I don't get to do anything because I have to take care of the house. I have to take care of the kids. I have to do everything. And then, I thought about that after I said that, and I was like, but I don't have to, you know? Like, I don't have to do all the chores so that he doesn't do any. I don't have to put myself last all the time, you know? And so I started telling myself, okay, once a week, I'm going to carve out like an hour a week to do something just for myself. And I wanted to start painting.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm just gonna like go by, and I had never painted before. I draw, I do graphic design, I'm a writer, but I had never painted before. And so I just went and bought like a gallery canvas because I was like, this is gonna be good no matter what. Like it's gonna be, I'm gonna put this on my wall, it's gonna be
Love it.
awesome. So I bought a gallery canvas, I bought a bunch of paints, and then I went outside in my backyard and I set up like this big table. I put all my stuff out. I turned on music and I just started painting. And I realized really quickly like how like therapeutic it was, how amazing it was. I just started painting like whatever I felt like. So it was like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna paint blue. I'm gonna paint that. I feel like I'm gonna paint this. I feel, I felt like I could express my feelings through painting. And the best thing to me, because I had always been like such a high achiever, such a like everything has to be perfect, was that I could make mistakes and then just paint over them and that you're never messing up. Like it's fine. I just loved it. So then I started doing that like every single week.
Mhm.
And then that and my meditation practice like really helped me grow. Like I grew so much. And then I had so many people reaching out to me because I was sharing like my healing journey on my Facebook and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to quit drinking. Like, can you share like what helped you and all this stuff?" And that was so rewarding because I was like
Okay.
so happy to share. I was just like, "Oh yeah, well I did this and this and this and this." And at first I thought that, you can't have fun without drinking, but you can. And then the more you learn and reconnect with yourself, the more fun you have without drinking because it's like, "Oh wait, I like this. Oh wait, yeah, I used to do that. Oh, I totally forgot." And so that just, I loved it. And then around that same time, I started writing. I had written a few things here and there, but I was going to put it all into a book. So I started writing about like a lot of the really hard times in my life. And I probably literally cried writing the entire book because it was like all of these awful memories, all of these things that were just so hard. And then I was just reliving them. But it felt really good. It also felt really therapeutic because I wrote it in a way where it was just, I was so honest with myself about it. And I just like told it like it was. And I wasn't trying to hide it from people. And I wasn't trying to stay unseen. And it felt so good to just get it off my chest. And then I also wrote about like really good things in my life and just made me feel really great. And so I put it all together and self-published it. My goal for this book, well, I felt like I already hit my goal because it was like I
It was
just
done.
released all of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
But my goal for the book was just like, I hope it helps one person who's going through any of these things. And I immediately got like probably, I don't remember how many, between 5 and 10 people who reached out to me and were like, "Oh my God, this is my story. Like, thank you so much for writing this. Like, I feel like I'm just not alone." And I was like, "Oh, yes, like I did it." That was my whole goal. And it just felt so good to like be fully seen for being myself and my story and the things that I've gone through and to have other people thank me for that and also like really relate with it because then it made me feel like, I'm not alone. I felt so alone my whole life, but I'm not alone at all. And the more I talk about it, the more other people know that, we're all going through these same things and we're just not talking about it.
Right. And I love that because you gave people the opportunity to learn about someone else that was going through the same thing that you were going through. And, when you were looking for someone and you couldn't find someone, you now become that someone for someone else. You're putting those resources out there and sharing your story. And there's so much healing in that, both for you and for the person picking up your book or learning about your story or watching your journey unfold.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I felt like that too because it's like, I had lost several friends to addiction, overdose, suicide. And I felt so much of a moral obligation to share my story because there are people going through the darkest of times.
Hmm.
And it's like they can't see that there's hope. They can't see a way out of it. And the more we share, the more we shine a light on the path to get out of it. I just felt so called to like share. So after I wrote my book, maybe a year after I wrote my book, I decided to open an art studio. And I wanted to sell my paintings. And I also created like a bunch of merchandise, doing like graphic design work for the town that I grew up in. So it was like town branded merchandise and my artwork. And I quickly realized that I hated retail.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not for me.
Uh-huh.
But what I loved so much is seeing other artists come in to the shop and see my art on the wall, and you could just see it in their eyes. Like, this is your art, and you just put it on the walls and you're selling it. I was like,
Right.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then I was like, you know, you could do the same thing. You could bring your art in here and I'll sell it for you. And they're like, oh, what? Like they were just like so, or they're, mine's not really good enough to sell. And it's like, no, there is a buyer for every piece of art. Like there's people in the world that are just waiting for your art and they haven't found it because you're not putting it out there.
Right. Right.
I just loved that. And I just love talking to people about it. But I didn't want to do that as like a business. It's just like, no, like and I just did my art for fun. So it was just like, I don't need to sell this. I enjoy doing it. And then that's it.
Mhm.
So I ended up closing that. And then I went back to just working. And I had been working in the printing industry and doing graphic design off and on for about the last 16 years. Recently, I decided that I was just sick of it. I had stayed in that field for so long because it's what I know. I like graphic design, but I don't like doing it for a job. Like, I don't like doing graphic design for other people. I
Yeah.
just like creating things for
Mhm.
myself. I realized that I was just staying there because I was so afraid. And I discovered one day when I was in counseling, talking to my therapist, that I was like, I don't understand what's holding me back. Like, I know something's holding me back in my life, but I don't know what it is. Like, I can't figure it out. And then we talked about what kind of a job would you want to do? And I was like, well, not what I'm doing now. Like, I literally love talking to people, but I'm afraid to be seen. So then I'm like, so I always get these jobs that's like non-customer facing because I don't want to be seen. And I'm like rushing through everything because I'm afraid. So then we literally like whittled it down to, I'm afraid to be seen, just like I have been my whole life from when I was little Jessie and I was in that dysfunctional home growing up and something was wrong. And I didn't want people to see me for who I really was because then they would realize that something was wrong and that I'm not as good as everybody else. I'm not good enough. And so I was just living my life like on this loop of these old stories.
I was listening to one of your episodes and you had said that, and as a school teacher, that really made me rethink a lot of things because you see the shy children in your classroom. And honestly, that was an epiphany for me because sometimes I realized that there may have been a lot more going on with that child than I took the time to find out. And it really kind of rocked my world when I heard you say that because there are some super shy, quiet kids that don't want to be seen. And I just really thought that they were shy. Sometimes you can pick up that there might be something going on, but again, it made me think about students that I just recently had. And I was like, ooh, there might be so much more going on right there. And I think you just sharing that story right there for me as an educator, that really opened a lot of doors into how I can connect with students in the classroom also. So thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know. I feel like it's one of the things like, it's the same principle of like you don't know if nobody's talking about it or nobody's
Right,
asking questions.
right.
But yeah, I realized like I was reliving that loop of unworthiness, of not being good enough, not feeling like I was good enough to do what I really wanted to do. But when it came down to it, and I was like, well, do I think I'm good enough? Yes. Do I think that other people would think that I'm not good enough? Or I don't know, like everything that I thought people would think about me that I was telling myself, I didn't actually believe.
Hmm.
So that just flipped a switch in my brain. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe I've spent my whole life just living in this fear of being seen and living these old stories. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to quit my job because I hate this job.
Right.
I hate this job. I hate doing printing. I hate, all of the things. I didn't realize that like staying in this job where it felt comfortable, but it felt like I hated it, like I didn't love it. It was because I love talking to people and I love like building relationships with people. And like everything that I wasn't doing is what I actually love.
Right.
So that was just crazy to me. So I decided to start a podcast with my one of my childhood friends. And it just came to me one day. I was thinking, I want to start a podcast because I feel called to share my story, to share my voice. And I felt a deep calling to share my voice because my family, because of my grandmothers who didn't have a voice. And I interviewed one of my grandmothers who told me her life story. And I felt so like it was very sad. It was very sad. And it was very like she never had a voice. She never had like the opportunity to step into her power and her authenticity.
Mhm.
And I just felt so called to do that on behalf of them, on behalf of all of the women who came before me in my line.
Hmm.
And I knew that I wanted to host the podcast with my childhood friend because she has experienced a lot of similar things in life and like generational trauma.
Hmm.
So we started this podcast called Journey to Your Dreams, and we started it to share our stories, our journeys to healing, and our journeys home to our truest, most authentic self, which is like we're still on the journey,
Right.
we're never gonna, we're still going. But we had no idea what it was gonna turn into. And it has blossomed into the most healing thing that I feel like I have experienced in my life. I
Yeah.
thought, okay, we're going to create this space for women to come tell their stories. And it's going to be super helpful for people to hear and to know that they're not alone. But I didn't realize that it was going to be so healing to me.
Wow.
And like every single story and every single guest that we've had on, like I I can resonate with a part of their story. A part of their story is a part of my story. Every single one. And it's so crazy. It just makes you realize how connected we all are and how every moment and every triumph and tragedy that we go through, like we all go through the same things.
Hmm.
And it might look a little bit different, but it's the same. And so just hearing other people talk about their story and tell their story has been so healing to me and so fulfilling because it's just like some of these parts and pieces of me I didn't even realize needed to be
Hmm.
healed.
Hmm.
But it's like it comes up and then it's like, oh wow. Like that's also my story.
Right.
It's so crazy.
It shed the light on things that you may not have even thought that you needed to be aware of.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
also believe that when you're in alignment, the universe sends people your way. So the conversations that you're having are probably divinely guided and healing both of you or all three
Yes.
of you if Miranda's on also. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because it's like a lot of the interviews we'll have, it's like, I needed to hear that today. Like, that's
Mhm.
exactly what I needed to hear
Oh,
today.
I have chills. It's
And
so amazing.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So after starting this podcast, I had quit my job and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have a plan. I was just like, I know that I'm not supposed to work at this job that I hate.
Right.
And
And
so,
how long ago did you quit your job and start this journey?
so I quit my job in March, the beginning of March, and I started the podcast right at the same time.
Oh, wow.
I still don't have a day job. But after starting the podcast and, just kind of searching for like, what am I going to do? What's my calling? I've just been deep diving into myself,
Yeah.
really, like doing a lot of introspection throughout my whole healing journey. I've realized like time and time again, like the answers are always inside of you. It's
Mhm.
like when you get disconnected from yourself, that's when you get the anxiety. That's when, you feel alone. That's when you feel separate. But when you are in tune with yourself, when you're aligned with yourself, when you are going within, then you know the truth. Like you know that everything's okay, that everything's going to work out. You are just divinely guided. And so I've been going through this period of like introspection, and I was working towards my certification in the spiritual life coaching and intuitive healing. And that opened up a lot of healing and a lot of just reflective work for
Mhm.
me. What I discovered was that my purpose is to light people up. Like, I love inspiring people. I
Yeah.
love getting people excited about things. And I can see so easily like other people's passions. And then I see exactly what I saw in myself, like the limiting beliefs and what was holding me back. And I want to help people remove those. I want to help
Mhm.
people remove everything that's holding them back because they can be, do, have everything that they can imagine and dream of in this life. And that is what's so exciting to me and what like lights me up. And that is what I am working on now.
You feel your calling.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's what we're always all looking for, like our soul's purpose and what lights us up, because that makes us feel the best. And especially when we're helping others and allowing them the space and the grace to truly find what lights them up. I mean, that's just amazing because then we're just healing the collective as a whole.
Right. Yes. Well, and I feel like everything on my path has just been a stepping stone here because it's like, going through the sharing my story with my addiction, shining a light for people that way, and then the podcast, and then my own healing journey, like culminating in all of these things and getting all of these new tools along the way. So I feel like now is the time. And so I've just launched, I'm calling it a movement. I've just launched a movement calling all of the women in the world to rise up into their power, step into their authenticity, and be themselves. Like we came here for so much more than what we're doing. We
Right.
came here to live the life of our wildest dreams. We came here to feel super fulfilled and to live our purpose. And so much of us are just stuck in those old limiting beliefs and stuck in that loop of stories we've been telling ourselves from childhood.
Right.
And we're so out of touch with who we really are and what we came here to do.
Right.
Yeah. So I've created a membership. So you can visit my website at jessiehansen.com. And it's called the Authentic Soul Collective. I'm building it out like as we go.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I've created this program called the Inner Compass program. And it is basically a 5-week program to help you discover your purpose, to help you reconnect with your intuition, because we all get so disconnected because of daily life, because of society, because of all of the obligations we have.
Yeah.
So, reconnecting with our intuition first and foremost, and then reconnecting with your inner guide, your inner knowing, your most authentic self to realize that you also have all of the answers within you
Hmm.
and just uncovering all of the things that you've piled on top of yourself, those old limiting beliefs, all of this guilt, mom guilt, all of this stuff that we hold ourselves back with. So, as part of my membership, we're going to go through this program together, but then it's going to just evolve and grow as we go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that the people that join you on this journey are going to be able to grow and expand with you. And I think that's also so important because it shows other women that you don't have to start off knowing it all. You don't have to start off with this deep well of knowledge. You have to start off by taking that first aligned step and see where the universe guides you and continue walking forward on that path. And I think that what you're doing is creating a beautiful space for women to do that alongside with you. And I know that there's going to be so much growth for you as well as the individuals that are going to be along the journey with you. And I love that also because it ties into your podcast, Journey to Your Dreams. This is all amazing. It's all so wonderfully connected. And that to me just speaks volumes because that's just confirmation from the universe that you are on the right path. And then the people that you come into their lives with, you're going to be such a difference and such a bright light. So I'm
Thank
so excited
you.
for you.
Yeah, I am so excited. I still have, oh, am I good enough to do this? Should I do this? Am I,
Oh, imposter syndrome.
and always.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to do it, and it's just going to be what it is, and I'm going to learn as I go, and I'm going to grow as I go. I think the healing is going to be definitely, I'm going to experience just as much as everybody else, and I'm really excited for that.
I know. And I'm also super excited because I will be joining Jessie for this
Yes.
wonderful, amazing journey. So I'm super excited as well. And together we will experience so many beautiful things. And I personally can't wait. So thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be in your world. And you're such an inspiration to me. Also, you have a clothing line going. Tell us where we can find all your merch.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I have been doing graphic design for years and I just love making clothes. So you can find my clothing line at jessiehansen.com. I have created specifically clothing to empower women. So it's t-shirts. Like one of my favorite t-shirts says, "We are fearless women in the pursuit of our wildest dreams." And they're just daily reminders. They're reminders of our power and our true authenticity and reminders to be bold, be yourself.
Mhm. I love that. And for me, just getting to meet you, I met you at a retreat that we both attended, and we had an instant connection. And just connecting with you and watching you bloom since then, even just what, a month and a half ago. I mean, you are just making progress at the speed of light. So I'm just super impressed with you, and congratulations on taking those brave and bold steps because you truly stepped onto a path that is lighting you up. The radiance just around your aura is amazing. And you should be super proud of yourself because you came from a story. You know what I mean? We all have a story, but you came from a similar story. I can relate to so many things that you have expressed and shared. And I know that there are so many other people out there in the world that can. And just to show that you can turn your life around and make changes is really, truly just awe inspiring. So, congratulations and thank you for being you and for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. And yes, I'm so happy to share. I could talk all day.
I love it. We have you on for another combo. So you can also find Jessie on her podcast, Journey to Your Dreams. She does also have a Patreon if you want to support her. I recommend that you check everything out. Jessie, thank you so much for being on this episode and sharing your insights and your stories. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Christine. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. If you like this episode, please drop a comment. You can also support Jessie by going to her website, jessiehansen.com. You can find her on Instagram, her podcast, Journey to Your Dreams. All the good things, all available for you. And I highly recommend that you give her podcast a listen because it will be truly inspiring. And if you're interested in her membership, there will be a lot of details. And I will be also sharing my experience with this membership in a few short weeks. So super excited for where our paths are going.
If today's episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to follow the show, leave a review, or share it with someone who could use a little inspiration today. For more support, free resources, or to connect with me further, head to the show notes and click the link tree to explore everything Aligned and Abundant has to offer. Let's keep rising and aligning together.